Right. So like, to tell you a background about this, how I came to know about this. So the thing is, I had a project. So it was a pretty big project. It has lakhs of users, and in few months, it started getting slow day by day. Like the APIs were getting really slow. It was getting loaded. People were feeling a bit distressed. Like, what app is this, right? And it was a pretty good app in Delhi NCR. So then we had to search few things. How can we? And the only problem was MySQL. It was getting, so we had added some logs. So what all is creating the delay. So we found that MySQL is creating this, and rest the logic is fine. Right. So in that we discovered few of the things which works, and those are other things which I'll be sharing to you, so that you can use those things and improve your project. Cool. So just let me share my screen pretty quick and we can start. So just let me know when you can see my screen. Is it visible?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Nihal.
Cool. So for this project, I have written a basic code. It doesn't have anything. It just has a database. Okay. So a database and few models. So one is users model. So that users table, it has around 9.5 lakhs the users, right? They are some dummy users. I just created them. And there's another table called index user. So the only difference between these two tables is this table has indexed column and this users table has pretty normal column. So if I show MySQL, right? So this is the users table, and if I show index user index, sorry, index users, so this is exactly the replica of it. It's just that these have some keys, index keys, but this does not. This is just basic table creation. Okay, so first, let me just run the server. Yeah, so it's running. So the first API which I had created, that is just a basic API which will like get all the users. It will do nothing. It will just fetch all the users from the database, right? So the API name is /index, and we will debug everything in the Laravel's debug bar. So you can see the API is getting loaded. So the browser is loading, it is getting loaded, and we are not seeing any result, right? So it will take around 10 to 15 seconds to load complete data, right? It is just because the query is written so bad, it is taking 12.5 to 15 seconds just to load, right? So this is something which cannot be accepted in any manner, right? So this cannot be accepted. So just let's wait for the result. Just let me check. I think the right port is written. Okay, so the port is written. Let's try /index. Okay. So sorry, is someone saying something? Good. So I'll take that as a no. Right. So the API is running. I'm not getting any result. Let's see how much time will it take. Let's wait for some time. So the thing which is happening here is I have written a query which is select asterisk from users, right? So see, the query is executed. It took around 25 seconds to execute. The query took 5.3 seconds, and the data is so large, it took 2 GB of my memory to load all the users. The user list is 9,65,656 users, right? So this is the something worse we can do. Just load all the users in the memory, so our server won't have this much memory to execute, and our app will crash. So to improve this, how can we improve this? So the first thing is pagination. So instead of loading all the users in a single query, we will use pagination. So I have written a parameter which is paginate. Okay, so paginate equals to true. So if I write paginate equals to true, whatever it will do is it will paginate the users by 20. right? It will give all the users, but like per page will be 20. So this time I got 20 users, and now the query took 2 MB of my memory and 391 milliseconds only, which is a huge improvement, right? But the thing is, there are sometimes scenarios in which we have to load all the data. For example, we have to show a list of states in a drop down, right? We cannot have pagination there, right? So in these cases, what we can optimize it, instead of loading all the data, we will select only those columns which will be using, right? So if I write select equals to name column ID and I press enter, last time the query took 25 seconds. This time it will still take 10 to 15 seconds because the records is so large, but it will use less memory, and it will take a bit less time than select a star from asterisk, right? So this time it took 14 seconds to load all the data and 1 GB of memory, right? Any questions so far? Actually, I'm not sure if I'm audible to everyone. Like if someone has any doubts, or can someone please say if I'm audible?
You're audible, Nihal.
Yes, you are
Okay, cool.
audible.
Yeah. So any issues if anyone has, or any doubts or something? Cool. Cool. So let's proceed. So let me just show you the query once. So what I had written. So there was a single route that was coming to user controller, right? In this user controller, it was accessing this index function. So this function does nothing. It will just call user service, and it will call the index method of user service. So let me go to user service. And here it was this, right? So it was a function. Like if you have index, then it will search for index users, then else it will normally search for this users. And in repository, the method is this. So if it is approved, then it will write a query where the user is approved or not. If it has name, then it will search for that name. If I've written select, which I did in the last query, which is select name, ID, it will explode all the parameters, and it will select only those params only. And if I have written paginate equals to true, then this will return me the paginated response, right? Which I got in my previous thing, which is this paginate equals to true. So the first concept which we learned today was to paginate the data whenever possible. If pagination is not possible, instead of select asterisk from users, we will use select some column name from users, which will reduce our memory usage and the query time as well. Right. So is this understood?
Yep.
Cool. Now for the next thing, like when we are searching for something, right? If I want to search anything, then what we will do? So if I write, let's suppose I want to search for name equals to Alan, and then space SIPES. So this is not a special name. It's just that this is the name which was occurring 6 times. So that's why I've written this name. Nothing special in this, right? Cool. So this query took around 686 milliseconds, right? And it gave me 6 users, which is from users table. And what if I write index as well? So the issue is this users table is not indexed. So as I had showed you earlier, this users table was not indexed anywhere. The name is not indexed. Nothing is indexed. I will just write and index. Right. So this time the query took more time, right? So why it took more time? Because it is now having this as well, these columns, right? So what happened was whenever I had written slash index, so it is it is getting these responses as well. Just let me remove them and yeah. So this is a default function which will search for status and is approved as well. So now if I have written this query, so how can I find if the queries are, if the indexes are being applied or not? So I've written this query. I'm not sure if the indexes are being applied, if this query is optimized or not. How can I find it? Like I cannot run it for every time for whichever the like in whichever thing I have a large data. How can I find this? To find that, what we'll do, there's a command in MySQL which is explain or describe. They both do the same thing. What I'll do is I'll open my MySQL. I'll write explain. And this query. Right. So this is visible, or should I increase my font size? Hello?
Yeah, it is visible.
It is visible.
Right. But the issue is this is not readable. Right. I cannot understand a thing here. So what we can do is there's a thing called -G. So I'll clear this and I'll write at the end hyphen capital G enter. So this will give me the result in this row format, not that. Right. I'm not sure why this blue thing is there. Let's just ignore that. So here you will see I'm like the table which I'm using is index users. Partition is nothing. Type is index merge, and possible keys is status index is approved index. So I have two indexes which are possible keys, and it is using those two indexes. Right. But the issue which we are facing is I am using intersection of these two indexes. I'm not using it directly. Right. So what happens is even if I have indexes on status and is approved, I have index status and is approved, still I'll be using a where query because I don't have a composite index. Right. So what composite index are? So in order to find, in order to query in two columns, so if they both have individual indexes, that is fine, but still we'll have to use a separate composite index. Right. So I had created a composite index in migration. Just let me migrate it. Now what this is doing is it is adding a composite index. So if I'll see the migration, it is adding a index on status and is approved, where status is so this is the name, status is approved index. Right. So this is done. So let me check it again. Right. So now it had a index on both the columns. Right. So now it is not using intersection of the indexes. It is directly using where, because we have a name query as well. So it is directly querying this name and it is giving the results. Right. So if I rewrote this, so now this is taking a bit less time as before. Earlier it was taking 1.6 seconds. Now it is taking 680 milliseconds. Right. So this is the thing which we can improve using indexes. Right. So if I write this and I paginate this. Paginate equals to 2. Right. So this query will also take a very less time because I'm like paginating it. So first it will like select count asterisk. It will find the count of the users and it will be very fast. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, I have a question.
Yes.
I wanted to know if some columns, the columns which were not indexed, were only present inside my search query. I have not included any of the indexed columns. Will there be any difference between the users tables and user index table if none of the indexed columns are in my search query?
No, so it won't create any difference. Whenever you are querying in a index column, only then it will create a impact. Right. If I'm searching in some other column and I have written select asterisk from users, then it will not involve any index. So I can show you this by having this. So explain select asterisk from users. Okay. So just so in this possible keys are null, right? Because in this query we are not using any column which can be used for index. So that why possible index is null and key is also null, right? That's why it's written extra null. So if I write DSC users, so this email column is indexed, right? So I can write select count select count from users where email equals to and something like n@g.c. Okay, it gave me some result. If I write explain on this, so now it is sorry, it is searching a column in which there can be an index, right? But there is no index. That's why it's saying possible key is null, and the result is also null in this case. It's using where, right? And similarly, if I instead of users, I write index users, right? Index users, right? So now it is showing where index, and it will be a bit faster. So I had written this query. It gave me result in 0.34 seconds. I'll write the same query, but with index users. Right. It gave me the result in 0.0 seconds. So this is not 0.0, it's a very small number in milliseconds or microseconds, but it's showing 0.0 seconds. Earlier it was taking 0.34 seconds. Right. So this is the thing which we will get using indexes. So just a small thing, you just have to add an index and it will create a huge impact. So there was some queries which were taking 8 to 9 seconds to execute. And as soon as we added an index, it was taking around 0.3 seconds, 0.4 seconds, just by adding an index. Right. So the first thing which we learned was to paginate the data wherever possible. If pagination is not possible, then to select only those columns which are needed for our application. Right. The next thing which we learned was to add proper index. So whichever column which has, so we are using where multiple times. Right. So in that scenario, we will be using index. We have to add a proper index. And how can we check if the index is there using in explain query, right? We can just write whatever query we have written and we can just add a word explain in front. And it will explain the query like what is, it's a simple query. If you have joins, it will select type will be different, right? If you have any other indexes, if any other table is there, it will give you all the details, right? So the second thing was to add a proper index. Third thing in Laravel is, so whenever you are doing something, like let's suppose you have to send mails to multiple users, right? So in that scenario, we can have it two ways. First way is we can directly select all users, like select asterisk from users. So I can just let me copy this. Say, right. So I can select all users and I can send them a mail. Right. First thing is this. So what it will do is it is taking 1.5 seconds, but it is taking 147 MB of memory. Right. Because we are first loading all the users, all 68,901. So this is because we have status equals to 7. Sorry. Yeah. So now we have all the users here, but it is taking very less time, which is 1.5 seconds, but it is taking 147 MB of our data. Right. But on our server, 147 MB is a huge amount. So we have right now we have only 69,000 users. What if we have 10 lakh users? It will go like when I had 10 lakh users, I was getting 2 GB memory usage. So we cannot do that. So what we can do is we can chunk the data. And then, so whenever we are directly writing the query, it will be select asterisk from index users where status is 7 and is approved is 1. So this is a normal query. It will query the database, get all the users. If I can show you the code, it will query the database. It will get all the users in user. It will run a loop for each, and for every user, it will perform some task. So right now I don't have any task. Still, it is taking 147 MB. Think what will happen if I'll have more of a more data memory centric task in that, right? I'm performing some complex computations, right? But what if we can have some other way? So what we can do, so these are the tasks when you have to like use all the users. So these are some of the tasks when you don't worry about time. So that will work in a background. So it will, all the users will be picked up. They will work in the background. They will get a notification. They will get a mail. They will get something or the other. It depends on your like use case. So what we can do is we can use a method called chunk, right? So what chunking does is now the same thing which I was doing here, instead of getting all the users at once, I have written this query. What it will do, it will take 5,000 users every time, perform some task, whatever thing which we have, send notification, send mail, or whatever you want to do. Then it will close this. Then again, it will pick next 5,000 users, right? In this way, it will work. So it will pick 5,000 users every time. Sorry, is someone trying to say anything? No issue. Cool. So now, as you can see, this is taking more time. Now this is taking 5 seconds to execute, which is very, like, it is around 5 times as compared to the previous time. But the good thing which we have now, it is taking only 12 MB of memory. Earlier it was taking 147 MB. Now it is taking 12 MB. So now why this is taking time? Because you can see the queries. Now it has made 14 queries. First, it had executed how many users are there. Then it is executing one by one with a limit of 5,000. It is taking first 5,000 with an offset of 25,000, 30,000, 35,000. It is taking those 5,000 users, performing some tasks, and then again getting next 5,000 users, then performing the same task, right? So in what all scenarios we will use this? Whenever we want to have some tasks which are not time centric, the user won't see it, right? So in that scenario, we can have this. So any questions on this?
No.
Cool. So now whenever the user is getting a notification, user can wait. Like if it is taking like 5 seconds and more time than the previous one, but we are getting a memory optimized thing, right? So we will be using chunk whenever the user is not getting the response directly. They will get in some form, mail, notification, or some another task, right? Now the next thing is count. Right. So whenever we want to count the data, like I want to see how many users are in my database. So what I'll do, I'll just write select count asterisk from users. Right. So what happens? Yeah. So I will write count. So there's a method called count. So in this count, what I am doing is I am first executing this. I'm loading all the data in my memory. So here you can see, if the query, it is not, so it is loading all the data in the memory. It has come like made a collection. Then it is returning the count of that collection. So now what issue which we face, the issue is same. We are getting all the users in the memory. Then we are like sending the response, which will take a lot of memory and time. Right, because this is select asterisk from users. It is a time consuming and like resource consuming task. But what we can do in Laravel, we can, instead of this get method, we can directly run this count. So what it will do, instead of this query select asterisk from index user where status is 7 and is approved is 1, it will write select count asterisk from index users. Right. So never use get before count. If you just want to have the count, just write count directly. So if I write query here, right? So now the query has changed. Select count asterisk from index users where index is 7 and is approved as 1. Now this is taking 20.99 milliseconds only. The response has improved, memory has improved. Now it is taking 2 MB. Earlier it was taking 147 MB. Right. So guys, I'm not able to see if anyone has raised hand or not. So you can unmute yourself and ask the doubt whenever possible.
Mm.
Right.
Hello,
Does anyone
Nihal?
has any doubt? Yes.
Yeah, I don't have diode, but I have just joined. So just wanted to confirm that like we are recording the session, right?
Yes. So Abbas is recording, but I'm not sure if so Abbas, if you can answer this.
Yeah, we are recording the session and I will try to make it public on YouTube.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so after the session, if I get any doubt, I'll definitely going to connect with you. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So I didn't, receive this link, Zoom link. So I tried to reach out Abbas on Twitter and on the
Might have landed
con.
in spam box.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Nihal.
let's continue.
Cool.
Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, just to
Thank
sum
you.
it up, the first thing which we got was try to use pagination wherever possible. Never like get all the users directly from the database. And if it is mandatory, try to select particular columns from the database. Like never write select asterisk from users directly. Either paginate it, and if it is required, let's suppose you are like querying you states in, you have to show it in the drop down. Then you can write select name and ID from states, and that only. It will take less memory and it will be a bit faster. So the first one was that. Second one was like add proper indexing in the column to find if your query has. So if I have this query, to find if my query has indexes or not, there's a keyword called explain. Right. So what explain does it? Whatever query you have written, just paste it directly and write the word explain before that. It will give you the result, like how it is getting executed, if any possible keys are there, and if you are using it or not. So I have this email index and I'm using it, the key I'm using. So that's why the extra is it is using index. Second one was to have proper index. Third one was whenever you have to send any mail or you want to send any notification or any task which will run in the background, never query all the users or all the data directly. Have chunk in it. So you can have chunk of 5,000, 10,000, depending on your data. You can have chunk so that it will take more time, but it will consume less memory. So your server won't run out of memory, right? And the last thing which we were like having right now was to have count method. So whenever you want to count all the resources, what you can do is instead of directly querying the like select asterisk from users, then you are getting a collection, then you are returning that collection count method. Instead of having this, just write the query directly, which will result into this query. Select count asterisk as aggregate from index users where status is 7 and it is approved as 1. So this will take less time and it will take less memory. Right. So the next thing is n+1 query. Right. So how many of you have heard this? What is n+1 query? So has anyone heard of it?
Yes, I've heard about this.
Cool. So what n+1 query is? So now let's suppose you want to make Maggie. You work in a restaurant and you want to make Maggie, right? So you send your staff like go and get me a Maggie packet, right? He goes and gets you a Maggie packet, but like you want to make it spicy. So every time whenever you ask him to bring a Maggie packet, so then he comes with a Maggie packet. As soon as you start making it, then you say like bring magic masala as well. Right. So what will happen is whenever you will open a new Maggie packet, you will send him like bring a Maggie masala packet as well. Right. So every time that that person has to make 2 rounds in order to get all the ingredients to you. Right. So this is the issue because it will like have some resources. It like he will get tired like going again and again. So what we can do is we can say like bring a Maggie packet with Maggie masala. Right. So now how many turns he has to make? He has to just go once. He will get Maggie with masala and he will give it to you. Now you will get all the ingredients and you can make it for your customers. Right. Similarly, in MySQL, what happens is whenever we will write, for example, we want to perform any task on payments of a user. So what we are using it, first we are getting all the users. Right, just let me show you the query. What we are doing is first we are getting all the users. We are chunking it, right? We are not like directly taking all the users. We are chunking it. But what we are doing is we are getting the users. Then we are writing this user then payments. So what it will do is it will make a query every time whenever we will write this. So it will make a query. So just let me load this. Right. See, so select index user. So first it got all the users page related. Then it is writing select asterisk from payments where user ID equals to 3. So first it went for 3, then 3003, 6003, 9003, and the list goes on. Right. How the number of users which we have, it will search for each and every user and it will make a database query. So that's why it is taking so much of time, like 141 milliseconds. Right. So to avoid that, what we can use is we can write with keyword. So what with keyword does it? Whenever we are getting the users, it will bring payments as well. Right. So if I write in query parameters, I will write avoid. Right. So now it has sent to queries. So select asterisk from index users where its status is 3 and is approved is this and ordered by something. And now it went for payments and select asterisk where user ID in it got all the payments. Right. So the time got reduced and now it is not going again and again to the database to get the result. It got all the payments and it will give me the payments one by one. Now, when I'll be writing this user payments, it is not making the request again and again. Just 2 queries are more than enough. Now it will handle my scenario, like whatever thing I have to pass with this payment. Right. So to avoid n+1, we can have this as eager loading. So this is eager loading. We can either write this in queries, or what we can do is we can write in a model as well. So directly we can, every time whenever we want to fetch users, it will get with payments. So it depends on your use case, whatever use case you have. Whenever you will get users, it will get with payments. So your queries does not make the request again and again. Right. So this was the n+1 query. So you might have seen I have written something like this. So this is not a function of MySQL or Laravel. So can anyone tell me what is this for query, for less users, or what these things are? So is anyone familiar with this, or?
Have you made them yourself?
Yes, I made them.
Are these custom methods?
Yeah. So these are called query scopes. Right. So whenever I have to write any query, for example, I am working at a e-commerce platform and I want to, like, every time whenever I will show the product to my customer, they should be approved. Right. If the product is not approved, I should not show it to the users. The stock is at least 1. For example, if I have this use case, the stock is at least 1, only then I want to see it. So if I have some of these scenarios, I have to write these query every time whenever I'll be writing the query. Right. To avoid this, we can make query scopes. Right. So if I'll open my users model, just let me hide this. I'm getting a participation window. Yeah. So here you can see I have created 2 scopes, scope for query and scope for less users. So as you can see, I had written only this part for query for less users. What it will do is it will modify the query every time. So it will receive a query. I can write whatever I want to write and then just return. So now next time, if I change my definition of for query, what I can do is I can just change it here. Now I will write where status is 8. Now it will search, like all the queries will change, and my query, I don't have to make changes to each and every query. I can just write where status 8, and everywhere, wherever I'm using this for query, it will now query where status is 8. Right. So these were some of the things to optimize the queries. But now we got to know how to optimize the queries. But now the issue which we are facing is how to find what all queries are wrong in my application, etc. So you can say you have created this application from scratch. You had few queries, like 4 to 5 queries. You found that like this query does not have index, this query does not have something. So that's why you were able to solve them and show it to us. But what if I have like thousands of query in my application? How can I find that? From like wherever, like where I have to put logs or what I can do in this. So to find this, MySQL has a thing called show like slow query logs. So what slow query logs is, you can set a time period. Okay. And you can get all the queries which are taking more than that time. right? To get this, we have a thing called set global, and then slow. This is a keyword. So slow query log equals to on, single quotes में on. Right. So this is the query which we have executed. Now this will turn slow query log equals to on. Right. Now we have to set how much time should a query take. Like how much time should a query take to consider it as a slow query. Like I can have an application which is taking 300 milliseconds for a query, and I can consider it as a slow query. Or I can have an application which is taking 10 seconds to execute a query. Still, I can consider it not as a slow query. I have some use case accordingly, right? So how much time do we have to consider it to be a slow query? So we will write set global, and everything will be global in this long query time. Okay, so this will be in seconds. So if I've written 1, so whatever queries which will take more than 1 seconds, so it will get logged. Now the next thing is I have slow query logs on. I have told the MySQL what time it has to take, but where will these query get logged? Where will I see them? So now I have to set a log file as well. So I can write, I will send these commands in chat as well, right? So set global slow query log file equals to whatever path you want to give for your file. I can write /users slash, let's say slow here on slow log.txt, right? So I've specified it like in my users folder. In my users folder, I will get this. So I've written this part as select you. So it will set the file as this. So now what I'll do is I'll open another terminal and I'll tail this file. Okay, and then whatever path I have written. So what -f does is it will like continuously take logs of that file. It will continuously show the changes. So whatever changes. So right now this file is empty. Right. There's nothing in this. I can just remove this. Now what I'll do is just to check if my integration or if my slow query logs are being logged or not, I will write a sleep query. Right. Sleep, and I can write 2. So now this, sorry. So now this query, what it will do is it will like just a second. So select sleep 5, sleep 2, right? So now this will wait for 2 seconds and then. So as soon as this query got executed, we have this inner slow query log. So what are things which we have? We have ID. So what user it was executing. It took 2.0038 seconds to execute. It sent the rows sent was 1, and the query is this. Select sleep 2. So whatever queries you have in your program, which will be taking more than 1 second, it will get logged into this file. You can see what all queries you can like solve. Now you can use that explain keyword to see what all queries are taking, like if those queries has index, if those index are being used, and how to improvise them, right? So one more interesting thing is like if I write select asterisk from index user. I'm not sure why this Mac does it. Status equals to 2, right? I'll not send it. I'll just explain this, right? I've written this. Just let me make it more readable and close this. Right. I've written this query. Explain select asterisk from users where index user where status equals to 2. Right. So this has a status index and status is approved index, and I'm using that, right? But what if instead of writing to, I write it in as index? So I took a wrong key. Right. So now I will write one. So it has the possible keys it is using, but if I change the data type or I use any aggregate function, in both the scenarios, this index will not be used. Right. So you have to use the same data type as that of the data, as that of the database. So whatever you have written, so only those data types you have to write. So if I write, so let's suppose if I want to find all the users who are created between like on the date 15th of June. So I can write it this way: user : where date created at, and I can write created at date is 2023-06-16, right? And then get. So what it will does it will write, what query will it become? Select asterisk from users, where, and created at, and then it will like where date created at. It is using an aggregate function, date, right? So that's why the like index won't work, right? The index won't work because now it is using an aggregate method to find the data, right? So instead of this, what we can do is, instead of writing where date, we can specify time as well. So I will query this. I will remove this where date, and I will write like, and I can use between, or I can use where it is greater than, equals to, and then I will mention the time as well. In order to, for a user to be created on 16, it had the created at timestamp has to be greater than like 12 o'clock, and it should be less than 23:59:59, right? So I will add that condition as well. So I will write 23:59:59, right? So now this query will use the indexes. It will use the indexes just because now we are not using any aggregate function. We are just directly querying the columns directly, right? So any doubt till this?
No.
Cool. So like this is it from my side. Okay. So if you have any questions or any doubts or anything to explain, sorry, anything to express, please feel free for that.
So, Nihal, just one question
Yeah.
regarding, you said we should use a pagination, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, pagination also slow down the queries, right?
No, it slows down the query, but it will like take a very, like it will reduce the resource taking as well. Like if I can show you here. So I'm not sure if you had seen this. So I had written an index query. So what it is doing is it is just directly querying all the users. So I have 9,60,000 users or something like that, right? So I've just written select in like index, and it is taking so much of data and resources. So it's just loading. So it will take 20 to 50, like 30 seconds in order to load the data. Secondly, time is also fine. I am taking 2 GB of my memory in order to load 9,65,656 users. Right. If my data is very less, then pagination will not work. Like if I have 20 users only, then pagination won't work because in both the scenarios, we will be getting 20 users only, right? But eventually your data will grow. If you are using users, if you are like writing this in users table or payments table, bookings table, this data will grow eventually. If you're not using pagination, you will run out of memory or your resources. So this took 17 seconds to execute. I just have to write paginate equals to true, then it will get paginated. Now it is taking 2 MB of my memory and 165 milliseconds only, right? So it depends on the scenario. In some scenarios, it will take more time if I have 2 users only. But in this scenario, it will give me better results paginating it. There can be some scenarios when we have to use the data directly, then we can select those particular columns only. Don't write select asterisk from users. We can write select name, comma ID from users only. That is still doable, but never write select asterisk from users when users can data grow, users data can grow exponentially. Right. Whenever your app will go live, thousands of users will start like registering it, and it will like fall.
Okay.
Right.
So just one point I wanted to add, when you do pagination also now, if you do the explain, okay, you will get to know your number of row scan over there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just do this thing and like you'll get to know.
So I have to
basically it reads
like
all the, yeah, even if you do limit 20, right? And just check the number of row scan for this.
so it has scanned all the users.
Yeah,
all
exactly. So this is not the optimized version, right? So even if
No,
you do
but
pagination also, right? So it scans all the records.
Okay.
Yeah.
See,
So
so
for
whenever
this,
you are getting all the users, it has to scan all the record. So it is like in both the scenarios, it is scanning all the rows. But in one scenario, we can save some resources. In another scenario, we cannot save the resources. In both the scenarios, if I'll write like if I'll remove this limit and offset, if I'll directly write this, it is also like scanning all the records. Right. But in this limit and offset, it is you can save some resources and time, just because we have a limiting. So data transfer, like you are reducing the data transfer time, and you are getting the response a bit faster to the user.
Yes, yes. No, I just wanted to give one feedback over here that to avoid this, we can have this. There is one feature. I forgot that. What do we say that pagination, and there's one more thing in database. Let me recollect that. Directly, cursors. Yes, correct. Cursor,
Yes,
you can
yes,
use
yes.
it. So,
Yes.
the
So
number
I'm
of
not.
scans, what we saw over there, we can, optimize that thing also.
Okay, so I can check it once. I haven't used cursor in my code. Just let me try it.
Yes, yes. No, I was, going to one of the issues. So I encountered this issue and I optimized this thing like this only.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
this is the way you learn. So like the thing which I faced and that I did got encountered to cursors, just let us hit a query once. Okay.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
user repository. So where I have to write cursor?
So yeah.
Like this?
I don't remember the syntax. I don't remember the syntax, but yeah, cursor is the concept that we can use it. Cursor paginate or a cursor in Laravel.
So let's try.
Yeah.
The worst it can give an error. Right. So here I have to pass paginate equals to true. Okay, so now it has changed. The query has changed to select asterisk. Now it is order by and just limit 21.
Yeah.
Let me just explain it. Right. So now it has filtered 21 rows only.
Exactly. So yeah, that consumption of time, basically you can save it over here.
Okay, now so this has improved a bit more. Earlier we were like going through all the rows. Now it has gone only through 21 rows.
21.
So how will I get all the page numbers? So will it return like all page count as well, like in paginate method, like we get. Right, in this, it just has more. It hasn't told me like how many users do I have. You can just This is paginate cursor and this is paginate. So if I write paginate, now that has total, last page, and all those information as well. So now if you have these information, so if like we can use this whenever we want to implement pagination in a mobile app. In mobile app, what we do is we just continuously scroll downwards. It just has to be, just has to show like if it has more or not. Like they don't see how many users are left or not. Like in mobile application, they don't show you the total count. In web we do. So it has more. It will come as true or false, and accordingly we can show the result. So this will be better if you are making any mobile like APIs for mobile application which has a scroll and like scroll to load some feature like that. So this is something good. I can use it in my application as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So anyone else want to add anything, or if anyone has any doubt?
अब बस मुझे प्रोवाइड कर देना फ्री लाइसेंस.
बिल्कुल.
अभी मैं फ्री वाले पे ही चल रहा हूँ.
But yeah, so Abbas, I think this is it from my side.
Yes.
Okay.
So ये Laravel नागपुर कम्युनिटी में अगर ऐड करना हो, like I'm from Mumbai basically, ठीक है, मुझे उसमें भी ऐड होना था. So who is the contact person? अब्बास ही है, right?
हाँ, so
Yes,
he
आप
leads,
already add हो चुके हो. Since you are join the meetup, you are in the community now.
Okay. ठीक
So
है.
separate.
Like, frankly, I'm from Gurgaon, so I'm more further than you. Still, I'm in Nagpur community. So it's like we all are connected through Laravel only.
Yes.
Okay.
यहीं पे नाम डालना है, right? Mitesh.
Yeah, this is for the free giveaway for PHP Storm Lessons. So I've just put a link. All those who want to enroll themselves for the free giveaway, please put your name in this group.
Yes. I have added my name, Mitesh. और मेरे साथ दर्शन भी join हुए हैं. Like we both are on same machine.
सबके नाम डाल दीजिए.
Yeah.
In the meantime, anyone else has any questions for Nihal?
Or you can give any feedback. So this was my first talk, right? So if you can give any feedbacks, or how can I improve more?
It was really
anything.
No, it was really good. Yeah, even I have also learned few things.
We didn't
anything which I can improve so that people can understand more.
बस थोड़ा स्लो में एक्सप्लेन करना, बहुत फास्ट जा रहे थे आप.
अच्छा.
Yes.
But it didn't. It was your first talk, Nihal. It was really.
Yeah, exactly. Nihal is concerned about his battery, I guess. Battery check करें laptop का.
It's on 4%. I don't want to leave the call abruptly. Just let me put it on charge. 2 seconds.
You can stop sharing your screen, Nihal.
Sure.
So once again, everyone who wants to enroll themselves for the free PHP Storm license giveaway, please put your names in the Google Sheet, the link I shared in the chat window.
Okay, अच्छा. ये पुण्यपाल को क्यों चाहिए? पुण्यपाल? अरे निकाल दिया, क्या हो गया?
डर गया वो.
वो तो ऑलरेडी होगा उसके बाद, मेरे को लगता है.
I only see very few names there. So once again, everyone who wants to enroll themselves for the free PHP Storm license giveaway, please put your names in the Google Sheet. I have shared the link in the chat window.
If you guys don't want it, I can write my name as well.
नहीं, मेरे लिए 2 कर देना और क्या. एक ऑफिस में यूज कर लूंगा, एक पर्सनल यूज कर लूंगा.
I'll wait just 30 more seconds and then I'll start with the lucky draw.
अच्छा, इसमें भी लकी ड्रॉ है.
हाँ, लकी ड्रॉ रहेगा ना.
ओके ओके.
तो एक ही को चाहिए, एक ही को मिलेगा ना. 10 नाम 10 नाम अभी. ठीक है, let me show my screen. First.
कौन सा वही ऐप यूज करोगे इसमें भी जो लारागोन ने यूज किया था?
नहीं, ये तो सिंपल लकी ड्रॉ रहेगा.
ओके ओके.
I'm sharing my screen now so that everyone can see. कहाँ गया है मेरा screen? Yeah. Okay. Everyone can see the wheel of fortune?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm putting all the names there now. आगे सबके नाम, किसी का नाम मिसिंग है जिसने डाला हो शीट में, उसका नाम यहाँ नहीं दिख रहा है व्हील पे?
नहीं है आई गेस.
12 लोगों ने डाले, 12 नाम है यहाँ पे. Okay, let's start. All the best, everyone. Chintan, congratulations, Chintan. Can you please unmute yourself and raise your hand? Chintan?
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, Chintan. Congratulations on winning the license.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. So just send me an email on laravelnagpur@gmail.com or send me a message on Twitter and I will send you your license.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Chintan? Okay. So I think that is it for tonight, this evening. Thank you everyone who joined us, and I'm hoping that you all will join again next month. As I'm also looking for new speakers for the next month. So if anyone is interested, please let me know. Please send me an email or send me a message on Twitter or send me a message on Slack. If you want to speak in the upcoming meetups, I'll be more than happy for the same. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Adarsh.
sure.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.